Good evening. It's 7 p.m. Miko, we're on, right? Okay. This is a meeting of the City of Cedarburg Common Council on Monday, January 26th. I'll call the meeting to order. We have Christian Lindo is online. Is Bobby not coming tonight? He's okay. So Councilmember Simpson probably will join us on Zoom. And otherwise, the rest of us are all here. I'm going to ask that we stand for a moment of silence. And turn to the flag for pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just for publicly noticed. Okay. We're letting in Simpson right now. I'll just make a real quick statement here before we go further. Just welcoming anyone who might be on live streaming on YouTube tonight. We're just getting started with this process, so welcome if you're out there. At this point, I take comments and suggestions from citizens on a listed agenda item, or excuse me, on an unlisted agenda. If there's something you'd like to say that's not on the agenda, we'll give you a couple minutes to comment and just come up to the podium, give us your name and address, and we'll go from there, just a couple minutes. And if it's an agenda item, make certain that you catch my attention. And when we're, through talking up here, we'll catch your comments as well. So thank you. Anybody in the audience who would like to say something? Okay. We've got a couple public hearings in front of us. 7A is a public hearing, discussion, and possible action on ordinance 2026-4, amending section 13-1-55D7 of City Code regarding the size of sandwich board / A-frame style signs that may be permitted in the Washington Avenue sidewalk right away. I'm going to declare the public hearing open, and Mary Sensky, our planner, is here to present this.
Good evening. Yeah, ordinance number 2026-04. The council will recall recently having amended the code to allow certain types of encroachments to happen on the Washington Avenue sidewalk right-of-way. And among those is A-frame sandwich board signs, which we've long allowed out there, but now it's codified. But inadvertently, in the drafting of this, of the original ordinance, I changed the A-frame sign size from 8 square feet to 4 square feet. And our sign code permits 8 square feet of A-frame signage. It was not intentional by the Plan Commission, myself, to modify that sign size that's allowed for A-frames. And so this ordinance tonight, 2026-04, corrects that and restates the A-frame signs to 8 square feet per side.
Thanks, Mary. Is anybody out there in the audience who'd like to comment on this particular item? I'll give you a couple minutes. If not, do you guys have anything you wanted to say? Oh, no, never mind. You can't. I'm following the sheet here. I've got 2 different sheets and I'm trying to follow the Plan Commission public hearing sheet. And so just bear with me, guys. It's not like I haven't done this a few times. I think I need a motion to close the public hearing at this point in time.
So moved.
Second.
And Jess?
We will close on a roll call. Councilmember Bitter.
Aye.
Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Burkhart. Aye. Didier. Aye. Simpson.
Bobby? Okay.
And Lindo. And Mueller.
Okay, thank you. And then we can leave this up to the the council now if you've got any comments or questions for Mary.
No.
We just need
Do you want a motion? I'll make a
Yes, please.
motion to approve ordinance 2026-04, amending section 13-1-55 sub D sub 7.
Second.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And no one's opposed? Okay, we're good. Thank you. Okay, I'm just gonna reopen the second one as a public hearing then as well. It's going to be public hearing discussion and possible action on ordinance 2026-5, amending sections 13-1-60, 13-1-82, and 13-1-240 of the city zoning code to add teaching kitchen and small-scale commercial kitchen to the list of possible conditional uses in the M2 General Manufacturing Zoning District, and to add definition and parking standard to the code for these uses. And again, Mary will walk us through this.
Sure. 2026-05 is an ordinance to amend the M2 zoning district to add the uses teaching kitchen and small-scale commercial kitchen to the list of prospective conditional uses that can be petitioned for and potentially approved in the M2 district. There is an applicant behind this request. They did inadvertently get going with a teaching kitchen in an M2 space and want to legitimize their presence there by going through this amendment process and then coming back requesting the conditional use permission. But the Common Council has seen a number of M2 zoning district amendments over the last year and a half at least, because we have a good bit of building space that is in the older aged buildings that were state-of-the-art M2 general manufacturing buildings in their day, but they're no longer technologically or design-wise really state-of-the-art for the businesses that are looking for new space. And so we're finding a lot of adaptive reuse requests for these M2 spaces. And this use seems to be one among those that would be a good fit in an M2 location, subject to understanding what its, unique circumstances, location, and so forth are. So it would be the addition of these two uses. And then we also have a parking code amendment that goes with this that establishes the required number of parking stalls to support each of those different uses, small-scale commercial kitchen and teaching kitchen. And then we also have an amendment to the definition section of the zoning code to list each of those two uses and define and describe what they are. So that's what this ordinance does. If you have questions, I'm happy to field them.
We'll get there, right, Mary?
Pardon me?
We'll get there. I'm going to declare this portion, or excuse me, I'm going to invite the public if there's anybody out there who wanted to make a comment. Okay, and then I don't think the applicant's here, nor is it necessary for that. Oh, did you want to speak? Mary spoke for it. You're good. Okay, thank you. I think at this point in time, a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, we will close on the roll call. Councilmember Bitter.
Aye.
Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Burkhart.
Aye.
Didier.
Aye.
Simpson.
Aye.
Lindo.
Aye.
And Mueller.
Thank you. Okay, and now if, do any council members have a question for Mary or a comment? Okay, if not, I'll take a motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve changes to ordinance 2026-05, amending sections 13-160, 13-182, and 40 of the city zoning code.
We've got a motion, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And no one's opposed? Okay, we're good. Thank you. Thank you. Mary, thanks for being here. Okay, I have a presentation, which is the Cedarburg Fire Department. We have a Life Safety Award for Thomas Burke, an oath of office for firefighter paramedic Katrina Shine, oath of office for Lieutenant Joel Deutsch, Nick Janis, and Robert Young and Edward Lanzer, Matthew Petrarca, and Tanya Zarling. And the chief is going to take it from here.
Good evening. Thank you very much. I'd like to thank the council for allowing us to take a little bit of your time this evening. I know you have a very full schedule tonight, but these things I think are very important for you to see and our community to see. To start with this evening, we would like to issue a Cedarburg Fire Department Life Saving Award. It's one of the highest awards that we give out to our members or members of the community that do something in our eyes that is heroic. We're here tonight to recognize an incredible act performed by Mr. Thomas Burke, and I'd like to share a little bit of the story from that evening. On Wednesday, November 5th, 2025, at approximately 5:45 p.m., the Cedarburg Fire Department was dispatched to the hub for a subject who was choking. While we were responding, Ozaki Dispatch informed our units that the obstruction was removed and the person was no longer choking. When we arrived, the person was breathing but coughing heavily. Witnesses reported the person was previously choking and turning blue. Thomas Burke, unknown to the individual who was choking, was sitting on the other side of the bar enjoying his dinner. He recognized the seriousness of this incident, went to the person to start performing the Heimlich maneuver with some help from his wife. After a few thrusts, the patient expelled the lodged food and started to improve. He started to breathe better and his color also improved. It is without a doubt that Mr. Burke's quick thinking and action that day helped save this patient's life. Because of his life-saving and heroic actions, we are commending him and would like to present him with this life-saving award. Any of you or someone you know could be like Mr. Burke by becoming CPR certified. If you or someone you know wants to become CPR certified or have additional education, please contact us at the firehouse. We'd love to teach the public and other citizens. In our opinion, the true heroes are those who are living their life not expecting to encounter an emergency, but act in a way that truly impacts someone's life. So this evening, I'm very honored to present this award to Mr. Thomas Burke. Would he come forward, please? Presenting Mr. Burke, the life-saving Thomas Burke for your life-saving actions in performing the November 5th, 2025, awarded January 26th, 2026. Again, on behalf of our departments, congratulations. Thank you very much for what you did. At this time, we would also like to recognize our new officers and have them take their oath of office. We typically would do this at one of our awards and recognition nights, but the entire family, their kids don't get to come to that and see what their mom or dad are being recognized and promoted to within the Cedarburg Fire Department. We also felt, again, this would be a great opportunity for the council to see our members and the public and get the recognition that they so deserve. The first person that I would like to call forward this evening is our full-time firefighter paramedic, Katrina Shane, and ask her to take her oath of office. Katrina was hired by the Cedarburg Fire Department full-time the last week in December. She completed her paramedic training in December. She had joined our department as a paid on-call member and wanted to become an EMT. Had completed 4 years of college, was thinking about pre-med, thought this might be a precursor to help her understand a little bit more and get involved in pre-med. She fell in love with our department. She fell in love with being an EMT. She went on to take advanced EMT. She went on to take firefighting. And then she decided she really wanted to be a paramedic. She quit her full-time job, put herself through a year's worth of paramedic school and paid for it. And her goal was to apply by our department and become a firefighter paramedic with the Cedarburg Police Department. One of the questions that we ask our applicants is, where else have you applied and why did you apply for our department here in Cedarburg? And her answer was very short and sweet. I haven't applied anywhere. I'm not going to. I want to work here. So she succeeded in that. She, again, top of her class, firefighting. Her nickname was Minnie Mouse. She put some of the guys to shame at firefighting school and did extremely well in her paramedic program. We're very honored and pleased. She's a local girl from town here to have her part of our full-time firefighting staff and part of our, as Bill Hins coined the term, Team Cedarburg. So we're very honored to have her. So Katrina, would you come up, please, and take your oath of office?
Okay, if I could have you raise your right. Do you, Katrina Shane, solemnly swear that you will support and comply with the Constitution of the United States of America, the Constitution and laws of the state of Wisconsin, the charter, laws, and ordinances of the city of Cedarburg, the rules and regulations of the Cedarburg Fire Department, and that you will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of firefighter paramedic to the best of your ability, so help you God?
I would like to ask the following recipients to please come forward. We had the opportunity to promote several lieutenants this year within the fire department. As you know, it's first line of supervision in our organization. These people have excelled at what they do. They've gone to the right schoolings to get the certifications needed to become a lieutenant. Years ago, back in what I refer to as the old days, because I'm old, you got promoted because the chief liked you. You maybe bought an extra beer or something at some point. Nowadays, it's education. You have to have the right certificates, the right education to even apply for the position. And we had a great group of folks apply, and we're very proud of all the people that we're promoting this evening. The first person I would like to please come forward, we're going to do the oath of office all together because they're all lieutenants, is our full-time firefighter paramedic, Joel Deutsch. Joel will be in charge of our paramedic program here at the Cedarburg Fire Department. Joel, will you come up, please? Also, this evening, we would like to have Nick Janis take his oath of office. Nick has been promoted to lieutenant. Nick will be in our training bureau helping Deputy Chief Andy Heike, and that in itself is a big job with all of the training that we do, keeping track of everything. And Nick has really expressed an interest in that. He's a good teacher. He works well with people. He has a lot of patience when he's teaching these new folks. So Nick, would you please come forward? Robert Young. Robert is going to be promoted to engine company lieutenant this evening. His dad, who's in the audience, his dad and his grandfather were both members of the department. His dad still is. He's still active, driving our apparatus. His dad was an officer back in the department years ago. Edward Lanzer is not able to be with us this evening. He is working. He will also be working alongside Bobby in our engine company. Matthew Percherka was not able to be here this evening. We're promoting him to lieutenant of the rescue company. He will be working alongside of Joel and our current lieutenant, Lieutenant Landers. And I would also like to ask Tanya Zarling to please come forward and take her oath of office. Tanya is also going to be working with the rescue company. Her mother was the rescue captain for our department for many years. Her dad was very active in the department driving ambulance also. They are both here this evening to watch their daughter get pinned. So again, congratulations. We have a great group that we're adding to our leadership team at the fire department, and we're very proud of all of them.
Facing that way. Okay, can you guys move to face the?
Face the
Yeah, and I'll
Mhm.
stand. I'll stand. Okay, if you could raise your right hand. Okay, do you, Joel Deutsch, Nicholas Janis, Robert Young, and Tanya Zarling solemnly swear that you will support and comply with the Constitution of the United States of America, the Constitution and laws of the state of Wisconsin, the charter, laws, and ordinances of the city of Cedarburg, the rules and regulations of the Cedarburg Fire Department, and that you will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of lieutenant to the best of your ability. So help you God.
And who's ever going to do the pinning, please come forward.
He can drive a truck, but he can't put on a pin. We thank you all. I mean, I think you guys already know how we feel about you and how much we appreciate you all. And as you move up and move on, we truly, truly appreciate this. And, to Katrina, welcome. I know that, staff has just been, the department has really expressed happiness that you're there. We appreciate that. There you are. And, to Thomas, that's such an outstanding, gesture to have the courage and, the forethought to go out and help someone. Thank you so very much. And yep. I think what I will ask is, we don't like to close these doors because it gets so warm in here. So if you don't mind, when, I know you might want to gather and talk, if you'll just do that downstairs, that would be great. And we will go on, after this part of our audience has a chance to, move along. Give him a second. Hey. I think we're going to move on to our public safety building study presentation. And Miko, if you want to introduce it.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. This evening, we do have Andrew Mayo and his team from FGMA. They have been working on this together with city staff since 2024, and they will be presenting the public safety building study. We do have another item on this agenda for actual discussion on what the future of our public safety buildings will be. So after this presentation, I open it up for some questions just related to the actual study, but the actual discussion on what we're going to do with these buildings is going to be next portion of this agenda. That being said, Andrew Mayo.
Thanks, Miko. I'm Andrew Mayo with FGM Architects, architect, lead our Milwaukee office, and with me is Mike Timmers.
Hi, I'm Mike Timmers with Kraus Anderson Construction, the Director of Operations in our Milwaukee office here.
So we'll jump right into it. Just give you a recap of when we were here last, talking about the facility needs. We'll go through some of the deferred maintenance items that
Make
Kraus
sure you're
Anderson.
speaking into the mic, just so, because sometimes it's hard for the people out there to hear.
Is it okay now?
I hope so.
All right.
It's good for me. I just want to make certain they're okay.
Yeah, I can't tell the difference.
Oh,
so
that's good.
I can hear you good.
all right.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, so with Kraus Anderson, they went through and did the facility condition assessments. So they'll have a little piece on the recap of that, just to get you guys back up to speed on where we left off. So with the facility needs, we started out with all gathering with the police and fire departments, as well as Miko, and coming up with the goals for this study. What did we want to get out of this process? So that's what you see here. We'll go through those in a little greater detail in a further slide. But the basis of the study is these goals, and we tie everything back to the goals. So when we look at the different options and understand the merits of each option, whether they're meeting the goals or not is really what we're striving for. So again, just to recap, the numbers in front of you are the space needs for the next 20 to 30 years for each department. We looked at the individual facilities as well as what would it be if it was a combined facility with some shared spaces. Again, I'll go quickly through these since I think everyone's seen these already. Just recap of this would be a combined public safety building on a new site, the site that we selected after vetting through, I think it was 6 different sites, Miko. We ended up with the site on Wauwatosa Road here. So this would accommodate all the space needs for both departments for the next 20 to 30 years at the least. This would be the option of police department standalone at their existing site. So you can see in the white there, that's the existing building. The blue dashed line would be some demolition that we'd have to do in order to build the addition, which is in the dark gray there. And you can see some minor modifications to the existing park, but otherwise trying to maintain what you guys have there as far as the ball field and everything else. This would be a standalone fire department. So again, you'll see a couple different options with A's and B's. So part of what we want to get out of tonight is to understand what direction the council wants to take with this. Because really, we can give you the merits of any of these options, but at the end of the day, it comes down to cost. We know that. I'm a tax-paying citizen in my town as well, so I understand, being a good steward of the taxpayer dollars. So I know you guys want to turn over stones and make sure that you're picking the right option for the city of Cedarburg. So again, I mentioned that we're tying everything back to the goals. So the chart in front of you shows the different options and how well they meet each of the goals. So option 1 would be public safety building on the police department site. That's adding the fire department, modifying the police department, putting an addition on the police department. You can see that meets most of the goals. The one that really stands out is the training goal for the fire department. Because of the proximity to the park and not much room to move on that site, there's not much room for expansion of any training needs for the fire department. Option 2 would be a combined public safety building on the new site. Obviously, because it's a new building, new site, we can really maximize everything that we need out of this. So it hits all the goals, but also tends to be the most expensive. So option 3A would be full renovation of the police department and a new fire department. Option 3B would be partial renovation of the police department and a full renovation of the fire department. You'll hear later on sort of the rationale for the must-haves. Like we absolutely can't move forward in these departments without these sets of things, and the chiefs will talk to that. But that's where option 3B comes into play. It's something needs to be done to the facilities. I think you all have seen the facilities and understand that. It's just a matter of what and at what cost, and what is the council willing to take on as far as debt in the city. So overall, option 2 obviously hits the most goals. Option 1 is a close second. 3A, again, is pretty close to options 1 and 2, given the difference in cost. And then option 3B really does not meet many of the goals, especially on the fire department side, purely because of the age, the condition of that department, as well as proximity to a lot of different things downtown. So it's really difficult to get that up to modern standards of a fire department. I mentioned I was going to touch on a little more in depth what each goal means. So the first goal, modern purpose-built facilities, making sure we're accounting for standards and best practices, both in police and fire. They're different, but they all have certifications that we're working toward. Whether they're going for those certifications and accreditations or not, our best practice is to design to those so that if the departments decide in the future at some point, hey, we want to go for this, it's not the facility that's holding them back from that. Increased safety and security. This is both for the staff, the occupants, the citizens, and visitors of these buildings. It's physical security, as well as increasing the safety for staff, given the world we live in. We want to make sure that we're keeping these public safety departments safe and, feeling comfortable in the work environment that they're in. Another big one is using the facility as a recruitment and retention tool. I think the earlier ceremonies give testament to how well received the fire department is in the community. We want to make sure that continues well into the future. And a big part of that is investment in the facilities, showing that the city is committed to these departments and wants to make sure that you have the right facilities to do the job. Increase in training opportunities. It's both departments have many trainings they must do, but also want to do. Where it becomes more difficult is when they have to do offsite trainings, have to take people off the street or taking overtime. Once we bring things on site, we've seen this in other departments across the state that we've done work for. Once we bring things on site, they're doing training as kind of second nature in addition to their required trainings. If there's a shooting range, for example, you're getting people coming before their shift and going out onto the range and getting a little practice in, or after their shift. Same goes for the fire department. Having those facilities on site allows them to do more impromptu training as opposed to just the bare minimum regimented training that they need. Another big goal is making sure that we're providing adequate space for today, as well as 20 to 30 years in the future. The last thing we want to do is see the city spend good money on new facilities only to rent a room in 10 years, let's say. We want to make sure that we're understanding the growth patterns of the city, and working with the departments on what their staffing needs will be in the future so that we can accommodate those in the facility, not only under a roof, but also in the right place under that roof. Maximize efficiency by co-locating police and fire departments. This became a goal purely because we understood that there were some efficiencies to be gained. The police and fire departments play nice together, so they're willing to share a number of the spaces within the facilities. So we really saw that as a net positive for the project. The next one is decrease fire department response times. A big issue they're dealing with right now is just being downtown. It's difficult to navigate, especially during festivals and things like that. In-station response time is also a big thing. So as we get further into design, what we like to do is start to look at what the response from the station to the apparatus and then out is going to be, because every second matters. So if we're looking at an efficient layout where the bunk rooms can be easily accessed from the apparatus bay, you're saving seconds there and getting on the road quicker, all the better. Just touching on some of the cons of each option. So same layout as the previous slide with the chart, options 1, 2, 3A, and 3B. On the police department site, there's going to be a reduction in Cedar Point Park. Not a full reduction, but we do need to grab some of that space for some of the site circulation, as well as if we're putting the entire public safety building there, the apparatus bay starts to take up some room on the west side of the site there. Really, regardless of where we're putting this, we're going to have to talk to WSDOT if it's on county or state highway. So Wauwatosa Road, we'll need to engage WSDOT. We already did that on the surface level with the study, just to get an understanding of, is this even feasible? It seems like they're willing to work with us, but there's going to be compromises. So we saw that as slight negative to option 1. Additional emergency vehicles near Cedar Point, understanding that it's in a neighborhood. We want to make sure that the city's being a good neighbor to those citizens. So that could be a potential negative for the project. Operational disruptions during construction. These are really on the renovated side of things. So if you're renovating these buildings, you're still operating both of these departments 24/7. Where do they go? How do they operate? Are we phasing the project so that they're staying on site? Are we finding a temporary home from them? So that becomes an added consideration and cost, which makes it a con in the study. Lack of shared spaces, obviously the two options on the right there, 3A and 3B, we're separating the police and fire departments. So we said one of the goals is sharing space. Well, those options don't check that box. And then lack of future growth. If we're doing smaller renovations for each department, we're understanding that that's going to limit the growth of the departments. We also understand that there's a limit to how much the city can spend on these facilities. So it's going to be a balancing act of how far into the future are we projecting versus how much can we spend. I'll let.
Okay, for the facility condition review, so Kraus Anderson and FGMA worked together to do a full analysis of the existing police station, fire station, and museum buildings. We've submitted that full report to Cedarburg already, but I'll give a quick recap tonight. So really the assessment, what it is taking a look at the entire building, starting with exterior site parking, site lighting, things like that, exterior finishes, siding, windows, roofing, working your way to the interior, looking at all the interior finishes, and then reviewing your mechanical, electrical, plumbing systems and coming up with a deferred maintenance plan and what the costs are to keep the buildings operational the way they are right now. So through that report, we've identified about $8.8 million worth of deferred maintenance that would need to be done over the next 10 years, assuming you didn't do anything else with the buildings, just left them as is. This is what it's going to take to keep them up. The way it breaks down is the fire department and police department are both in the same range, around $3.5 million worth of deferred maintenance, and then the museum about $1.5 million worth of deferred maintenance. Unfortunately, as you can see at the bottom, the majority of that, so this is broken down into the 10 years, and 2025 is about 7.1 of that. So the majority of the items that do need to be done, unfortunately, do need to be done relatively soon, just due to repairs that need to be done to those buildings. The overall, here's the overall breakdown, which I just mentioned from the other sheet, which is the total deferred in the next 2 years of $7.1 million. This sheet breaks down the critical deferred items. So the 7.1 is all the deferred items that have to be done. Critical is items, we give everything a criticality scale, and these are things that are in need of immediate repair, I'll say, that must be done. Some of the deferred stuff you could avoid, but these are the items that absolutely have to be done, and they're detailed in the report that we've given you. So it's about $3 million worth of work that will absolutely need to be done in the next 2 years. This is just a recap of that same slide, adding the two, showing the two together there.
So we'll bring both chiefs up, police department first and then fire department, just to talk about some of those bare minimums that I mentioned in option 3B there.
Right, evening. So for the space needs, our biggest needs right now, when we talked about in the tours, was out in the men's locker room. So we have 24 male employees, we have 16 lockers. So we're bringing extra lockers in. We have 1 shower, 1 bathroom. There's no ventilation. I think when you got the tours, you kind of saw that. Everybody's boots sitting out, vests are sitting out. The new lockers, modern lockers, have ventilation in there. So, because some of these vests, that's what breaks them down is the sweat and wearing them. So they have to stick them in their lockers for security, but they're not getting ventilation. So we're breaking down our vests a little bit quicker. But like I said, the biggest thing is space. We have officers use our gym daily, which is a good thing, but then you have to scramble to get in the shower because you have 1 shower. So our biggest need is the men's locker room to expand that. Our female officer, she has her own locker room with 6 lockers. So she's set. We'll be set probably for a few years on that area. Our next one, our biggest need is the garage. I think we're about, Captain Kelly, 6 squad cars past, I think, of where our garage should be. So we took over the Sally Port, which is where we bring prisoners in. So Captain Fitting parks his car in there and until we have to bring a prisoner in, and we park cars outside as well. So our next biggest need is the garage for the squad cars. And then the other big ask that we have is for the arms room. So our officers clean their weapons in there and we use a box fan to air it out, which is probably not the best. I'm sure it's some kind of OSHA violation, pumping poppies and oil through the building. And Amy can smell at her office at the end of the building. So that's another one that we're looking at. I mean, I realize, I don't think we're gonna get the entire bill that we requested, and I understand that because of the cost, but those are our biggest needs are the locker room is number 1, a garage, and then the arms room ventilation, and then the repairs that we have to do. Councilmember Didier was there with our HVAC system in Captain Fink's office. It was hot, then 2 minutes later, it got cold and went hot again. So our HVAC system is starting to break down. We had a leak in one of the pumps, and luckily they could rebuild it because they can't find parts for it. So we're kind of holding off on, looking at replacing that, but that is gonna be a big cost. So like some of the modern lockers, like I said, they have ventilation in there. It'll just help with, space in there. It's probably not the most hygienic in that locker with 24 males and it says it's built for 16 and it's probably not compared to the females locker room, which is much cleaner and more sanitary. But that's the kind of what we're requesting is an additional locker room built on and then a garage and the arms room and then the repairs that we need.
Thanks, Mike. Miko? Should we wait on any questions?
Yeah.
Okay. Or thanks, Chief. I'm sorry.
Thank you. And our critical needs on our end, it really kind of spans across all of the topics that the architects have hit on. Our bunk rooms we've converted a kitchen, that's the locker. We've just converted an office into some bunk rooms. When the tours were opened up to the council and the public, one of the members of the public looked in there and said, this looks like it doesn't look like a place that you'd want to spend the night and sleep. It looks like a jail cell in there. So we're doing the best that we can with what we have. But again, you saw the pride in the folks that were here tonight. And I think it's our duty to provide them with a good place to sleep, eat, take a shower, clean up after calls. And we just don't have the facilities to do that. Our locker room, we're just in the finishing stages of a female locker room for our new female full-time employee. And we may be having another one coming up here shortly. So we took a storage supply cabinet, supply room, some paint, some plumbing from Boudiak Plumbing, and some full flooring in there to create a locker room. Again, it doesn't solve our restroom problems. The men's restroom, there's one men's toilet for the entire building. Nothing is ADA compliant in that building. The restrooms are not compliant. The building itself is not compliant. The mechanicals, 2 years ago, the state inspector came to do our boiler inspections. He opened up the door, and before he even walked down the stairs, he said, what's the replacement schedule on these, chief? They're at end of life. And our HVAC contractor said a few years back, you better get these in your capital budget because they're at end of life. They've been in there a long, long time and they need to be replaced. Last night, I got a call yesterday afternoon at home. Hey, chief, you got to come down. One of our sprinkler pipes blew a hole in the side of it. It's so old that they're actually rusting from the inside out. And it popped a little hole right above the ambulance. So the water was running down on the ambulance. So that was came down yesterday, took care of that, had to call the alarm company, put everything on hold, call the sprinkler company today to replace that. So again, all of the things in our building, remember, it was built in 1964, the original building. So even the mechanicals, everything is kind of cobbled together to make it work for the building. The bike path on the outside, I know that's in our eyes a safety concern. There's not a lot we can do with that right now. But again, that would eliminate that potential of any type of a claim against the city if something were to happen out on that bike path. Like I said, along with Chief McNerney's, the mechanicals are a problem. And our whole building is really a problem. When the architect talked about having access to getting from where your sleeping quarters is to the apparatus floor, all we're doing is running stairs all day and all night. And we have to have like a night light on. One of our members brought a bedroom lamp to leave on overnight, so it's not too bright, but it's enough that you can see that you don't fall getting from one room to another room to the stairs through another door onto the apparatus floor. Again, the new designs of these buildings with the lights that come on very dim, the tones that go off, they're called heart healthy now, so that it's not a shock to your system when your pagers go off in the middle of the night. My wife still raps me and complains about it because it's obnoxious, and mine goes off just about every night. It's different technology, newer technology to be more heart healthy to your body and to your system. So again, the workout room, we took half our training room, turned that into a workout room. It's functioning, it's doing well, it gets used a lot. But again, we're just chopping the building up into smaller pieces and trying to make do with what we have. And certainly planning for the future, some additional full-time members, we're not going to be able to support that. The bedroom area, the locker room area, the bathroom area is just not meant for having full-time staff in there. So thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
So wanted to touch on the budget and financial impact. First, you'll see the opinion of probable cost that FGMA and Kraus Anderson came up with, and then Miko engaged Ellers to give us some high-level numbers as far as what the borrowing might look like. So just wanted to quickly touch on this again. This was in our last presentation as well, just differentiating between hard construction costs, soft costs, the cost escalation. All of those together provide the complete project budget rather than just latching on to that construction number and putting that in your capital plan. We want to make sure that you're covered for the entirety of the project and not just the construction. We want to make sure that you're in there operating and not having to come back to council multiple times and say, hey, we're out of money. We didn't see these costs as part of the budget, so we want to make sure we're covering all of those. As you can see, we've laid out each of the options here. So I will say the renovation options, that's for the total renovation of the police department, and then the renovation of the existing fire department. But like I said, that number gets you kind of the bare minimum. It doesn't really get you a modern fire facility. So a part of what we want to do tonight is get an understanding from the council as far as what is the threshold? We understand that these are big numbers and you've got other projects in your capital budget as well. So what we call it, design to cost rather than cost the design. So right now, we've come up with these design concepts, put a cost to them and said, here's what that budget would look like. If you're telling us there's a specific threshold, then we can work with the two departments and come up with, I'll call it option 4, which might be an amalgamation of a few of these different options to get them what they need now, as well as into the future. It might not be that full 20 to 30 years, but maximizing that budget number. And so these are the numbers from Ellers, based on the average home value of 515,000. So every 10 million in borrowing adds $150 in annual tax to that $515,000 home. So again, looking at these different thresholds and you being tasked with being the stewards of the taxpayer dollars, what is the right number for the project so that we can then go back to the drawing board and say, chiefs, what do we need? You know, they had identified those absolute necessities. How do we stretch those dollars to make the most of them for the future of the facilities? So with that, we've got a recommendation slide and then next steps, and I'll leave up the last slide is a hypothetical schedule, just so that you understand what we're looking at here. It's not you guys vote on it and immediately we flip a switch. It takes some time to do the design, then it takes some time to do the construction. All told right now, that could be anywhere from 2 to 3 years from the time that the council says go. So the recommendations, obviously, we need to resolve an approach to the public safety facility space needs. There's those deferred maintenance items that Mike touched on. Then we need the staff to understand what their threshold is so they can work with Ellers to come up with what that capital plan looks like with this facility incorporated. Obviously, if one of the options selected is that site on Wauwatosa Road or another site to be determined, there would be some real estate acquisition, then design and construction or renovation, and then plan for if and when you move out of the existing fire department, what happens to that? And so here's that schedule that I was talking about. So Miko, did you want to open it up to questions now?
Yes.
Okay, you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think one for me on the study before we get to the discussion. Both the chiefs mentioned HVAC as in their critical needs category. Is that not included in the deferred maintenance category? Is HVAC not in there?
I believe it is.
It is included
Yeah.
in there.
Okay, so that's set, so that's different, right? So that's included in that 7 million or whatever it is, the HVAC, okay.
And that deferred maintenance would not be redundant. So if you build a new building, we're not doing that deferred maintenance.
Right.
So keep that in mind as well.
A couple places in your report for both facilities, there was environmental concerns noted. I'm assuming from ventilation from vehicles. Is that what environmental concerns were?
That as well as the age of the buildings, whether there's
Like
lead or
asbestos?
asbestos.
Okay.
So particularly the fire department, there would be more concern there. But then the environmental concerns on the police department side is that ventilation particular to the gun cleaning and the evidence.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. I don't know if this is for Miko or for you folks. In regards to the deferred maintenance, yeah, these items you've been talked about for a number of years that need to be done. Can we talk about, or can you just explain why they haven't been done and how they've maybe been in the budget but hasn't been spent? Because, do you know what I'm asking, Miko?
Yeah,
Okay.
so deferred maintenance, over the years, obviously with budgets being tight, so a lot of projects we prioritize within the city and those have not made the priority list. And within the last, especially since COVID, we've been discussing potentially doing a new public safety building. And with discussions about a new public safety building, we've decided that we're going to hold off on making any of those large scale maintenance items until we determine what we're going to do next, because we don't want to spend money on these facilities if we're going to build new or do some sort of renovation. So that's why we've been holding off on those.
Thank you. So these discussions happened probably prior for me joining the council 5 years ago or so.
They have been ongoing discussions through budget processes.
Okay, thank you.
Oh,
Go ahead.
I just have one quick question that I didn't see here. The squad garage, chief, would that be big enough to hold all your squads plus a Sally Port, correct? Or is it all gonna be combined into one?
You know, if we get the renovation,
Yeah,
it'd be, yes, it'd be expanded and be, the way it's designed now is kind of a poor design. You pull in, you back in, you go out the same door.
mhm,
The new ones, you drive all the way through.
okay.
And so, yeah, so right now it'd be all one facility.
But is your goal to park all the squads in
Yes.
this garage?
Yes.
At all times? And
Yes.
so that's what this renovation would do, you're planning for that space?
Yes, and a couple extra for the future, because when we moved into the building, they had it built for exactly what we had at that time. Instead of kind of, it had some expansions. That's why we had less lockers, you know, the squad garage is overflowing. It's because they planned for what they had at that time, instead of planning for 20, 30 years. And then we probably wouldn't have the problems we're having right now with space.
Okay, thank you.
So Chief, the garage renovation or expansion would occur even in a partial renovation.
Yeah, that's one of the requests that we have, yes.
Okay, yeah, got it.
Because,
So do the garage, is bottom line, okay.
yeah, because when I first started, we worked the old building in Hanover and some of the
Right.
cars were outside. And at
Right.
that time, it wasn't a big deal because you didn't have cameras, you didn't have
Mhm.
cars. Now you have all this electronics. So those batteries are getting eaten up pretty quickly, even stored inside. And then you have
Mhm.
defibs, you can't leave them outside. So it'd be an issue leaving these cars outside with the batteries and no electronics.
You touched on something a minute ago, and I think I said this to both chiefs. 20 years seems really short for me for, for planning purposes. I don't know what the norm is. 30 and out seems more practical. Our police department is 25 years old and it was, as the chief said, built for that space and time. It's a beautiful building built for that space and time. And so 20 years seems short to me, even though I know all the costs are associated with that too, and you
Yeah,
have to
so
think.
our typical approach is to look in that 20 to 30-year window,
Mhm.
because looking beyond that, the crystal ball starts to get a little hazy.
Easy. okay.
So we could plan for beyond that. The idea is that the way we design buildings is we want to design them flexible enough so that you can continue operating out of it much beyond that 20 to 30 years, because
Mhm.
ideally this building would last 50 to 75 years.
Exactly.
So it's not that the building's gonna all of a sudden need to be replaced in 20 years. It's that understanding the growth of the city and the growth of the departments, we can look at that
Mhm.
20 years from now. But the further out we look, the more the target moves, and it's not something we can.
And we actually, with our, updated comprehensive land use plan, we actually have a pretty good handle on what that growth could maximize out, 25 years out or so.
Yeah.
So we've got,
Not
some
all that much.
good idea. Yeah, exactly. It's not all that much in the whole scope of things. So,
I have a couple questions. So you said that, Miko, you said that the deferred maintenance is not included in the full new building cost, but what if we are compelled to do deferred maintenance before we have the new building, since we're saying, so that cost is not in there at all? So that would be additional.
So if we are compelled to wait, then we'd still have to do deferred maintenance and then on
Right.
top of that, do the building. So it is an additional cost.
So it could potentially be additional cost.
Well, are you, if I may, Amanda, are you suggesting that the time frame that they laid out is, even if we move forward, it's 3 years to the new building is built?
Right.
What happens if one of these boilers blows in the next 6 months?
So,
or HVAC system
Yeah.
blows.
Thank you for being more articulate than
the approach there is, if you were staying in the buildings, you'd want to maximize your repairs budget. So you'd want to get, the best system that you could afford that could give you the most longevity of the system. And that's kind of what's in the buildings right now, approaching end of life or beyond end of life. If you know there's an end date, whether it's 3 years, 5 years, 7 years out, you're going to put the Band-Aid on that gets you to that point, so it might be that either middle of the road or least expensive system, but it gets you heat and cooling in the building for the next 5 years. So that's the approach there, is not necessarily spending that full 8.7, knowing that the deferred maintenance has to happen in year 2 versus you being out of the building in year 5. It's, what's the cost of the Band-Aid?
And that question came up with the water treatment center as well. We talked about that, which is what made me think of it. Another question is, if you have to relocate the departments during the remodel, is there cost to that? And is that included?
There is cost to that. That is not included in these budgets as it currently stands. So that would have to be identified in another step here. If the direction is, yes, we want to renovate, we want to stay where we are, we would identify that and identify some temporary relocation costs, including moving to that facility, whatever the rent or whatever agreement you have for the facility, and then moving back into the renovated space.
My other question is for the chiefs. Is there a recommended number of officers or firefighters per capita in communities, and where are we at that? Where are we at with growth?
We just kind of went through this a couple years ago with our study. There's a national average, what the ratio is. We're a little bit below that, but that's because our crime rate can allow us to go below that, say, compared to a bigger city. So I think right now we're at a pretty good number. We increased our minimums to 8 men for 24 hours. So right now we're doing good. Like I said, we're below the average or the national average recommendation, but I think because of our crime rate and stuff like that offsets that, and we're okay. So yeah, but as the increases, and you might increase personnel and schools, and that's like down the road in the future with your plan. I don't think it had to be a huge number of officers that we'd have to increase. If we get all these subdivisions, I know, Patrick, but yeah, probably a few more, I'd say, in the next, not how many years, depends on how much building we do. But I think, we're doing pretty well right now.
Thanks.
On the fire side, we really don't go by numbers like on the police side. The police side, it's kind of clear cut of what they tell you, what they recommend. The fire side, they go by response times. And to get an ambulance out in 4 minutes to meet the national standard, to get an engine out in so many minutes to meet the national standard. And obviously, the more that we grow into a full-time department, we will be able to meet those, but it's having the right number of people and then the accommodations to put those people. PD, you typically work 8 hours and you go home. Fire department, you work 24. So again, different needs and different wants there, but we're doing okay. Do we meet all of the standards? No, because you can't with paid on-call members. It's impossible to meet some of those national response times. We've upped our game considerably with adding full-time staff. But again, the more full-time staff, the quicker I can get more pieces out, 2 ambulances, an ambulance and a fire to keep within that time frame. But again, we need the facilities to house those folks. And when the mayor talked, or one of you talked about the future envisioning, it's really hard, I think, to project past 20 years. When you look at where the fire service used to be, there were no women in the fire service. Well, now there's women in the fire service. So we have to make it. This keeps cutting in and out. Cancer is huge in the fire service right now, this clean concept. And when you took the tours of having your gear out in the open, it's in special rooms now. You come back and you take your stuff off here, get cleaned up here and go here. It's not just wander around and go get a cup of coffee. Everything is evolving and changing. So to say, hey, we want to build it 50 years, I don't think you can maybe build a building that you can change it internally. Mental health, if you look at new fire stations, we get a magazine every year. They do fire station design awards, and it's all now, it's cancer's number one and mental health is number two. Putting in windows where you can look outside, you can just, if you had a bad run and you just want to look at a tree for a while and just veg, you can do that instead of looking at a black wall like you're in an institution that you can't see outside. Even the gyms that they're building, they're putting all windows in. They're putting a garage door that goes up and down. So in the summer, you can open up that garage door and get fresh air in. It's just, it's all about cancer and about mental health in our profession now, so.
Thank you, chiefs.
Other questions up here? We have a lot of people, well, several people who are out there. If anybody would like to ask a question or make a comment, we'll give you a couple minutes at the podium. If anybody's there who would like to do that. Terry?
Yeah, Terry King, 163 North 762 Sheboygan. I got it right the first time. All right. It's unfortunate that the citizens that were invited to this meeting tonight were not furnished with the full report that we kind of briefly had to try and keep up with here. If that whole thing would have been given to us ahead of time, and probably the rest of you as well, you could have reviewed those things. And the same goes for some of the comments with the fire department and police as far as what they felt their critical needs were, and just to publish that to give us a chance. Nevertheless, I prepared statements ahead of time, so I just had to base what I'm going to say on that. So if you take that grain of salt. So we'd like to have all the same information you have and more before we can really comment on this very, very important issue having to do with our safety and our money, quite frankly. One of the things that might have been helpful in this study is a map from the fire department showing where the calls are, how many calls there are, which kind of equipment needs to go there to try and figure out what the best place to have the equipment is for the type of call. For example, if just to say something here, if we had certain functions like EMS, let's say, where do they tend to make most of the calls and what kind of equipment do they need? And if it's on the west side of town, you know, maybe another option that hasn't been given to any of us right now would be possibly to, as the police station might be renovated, improved, expanded, that some of those personnel could be based out of that building, and that would free up room in the existing building. So it's just options nobody's mentioned. So we could combine parts of option 3A and 3B by renovating downtown here and pretty much rebuilding, expanding out there by the police station. Maybe we can meet the needs at a much lower cost than what we're looking at. So it's just really important that we look at all possible options and think a little more outside the box than what has happened. Another thing is that we need to know that any proposal that is accepted that involves abandoning the downtown fire department, we need to know what the plan would be for that building, that it would still be kept in civic use and it wouldn't be sold or developed into some monstrosity of a multifamily thing, right, that would help destroy downtown historic Cedarburg, that we can keep control of that building and prevent that kind of a thing from happening. The existing fire station, I've been through it, it's solid. It's got really good bones. With the critical upgrades that have been listed in option 3B, I believe that building personally, from my perspective, could serve the city for many years to come. It's a great building. So that I don't think that option should be discarded just because it's old and because the goals that were stated here kind of prejudice against keeping an old building, and they're heavily weighted toward it's got to be a new building. I don't think that necessarily tracks. We would all of us in this room, everyone in the city wants the fire department, the police department to have the best possible facilities that money can buy. That would be nice to have, but we all have to live within our means. So combined with the cost of the sewer treatment plant, this is a massive amount of money for the taxpayers to bear. Every dollar counts. So in any event, just to sum it up, this process requires all due diligence that is available, additional information that's available to be carefully considered by the citizens and yourselves prior to making any firm decisions. So I encourage you, there's no need to rush. The existing facilities are working, training is being done. Let's just take our time and not rush into a decision before we've considered some additional options.
Thank
That's
you.
all. Thank you.
Just a note, if anybody else wants to speak, I totally forgot to time, so we'll give the next person 2 minutes and just pretend like he only had 2 minutes. Anybody else out there who wants to speak? Okay. Oh, we've got somebody coming up. Of course, no problem. Just your name and address.
Tony Gawowski, North 36 West 59, 21 Worthman Street. He kind of pointed just one thing. What would happen to the existing police station fire department if you go with a whole new place, I guess? I don't know. Thank you. I was gonna say fire police combine the word.
I guess we did talk about that if we did move, that we still have to repair that building. So it's kind of, I don't know, I like staying where we are with the police department. I guess that'd be my choice to stay where we are, but that's, not my call. But if we did move, then we still have to do the critical infrastructure. So whatever that comes out, $3.5 million still have to be put into that building. But I guess my choice, I like to stay where we are. I think we get along with the neighbors well. They're used to us now. It's a good location on Tosa Road. So I guess for us, I'd like to stay where we are. It's my choice.
I'll just speak, if you're okay with it, Chief, I'll just speak to the fire department. We're very aware, obviously, that if the fire department would move from its existing location, that's a prime location downtown, we're very aware of that and we'd be very cautious about how that's utilized, whether it's used on a municipal basis or otherwise. The other thing too is just so everybody knows, a piece of that, the building next door where the museum is, that is in our historic district. That is a historic structure, and just like we require that anyone downtown who owns a historic building comply with all of the guidelines that are out there, we would do the same with our own building. So, Miko.
Mayor Tomey, if I may, so if there's any questions on the study, feel free to ask them. But
Perfect.
if we're done going over the study, we can move forward to the discussion.
Sorry about that. I just jumped. Anybody else out there? Okay. Thank you. I think then, as Miko said, thank you to both of our presenters for all the work that went into this and the explanations. And now I think we are going to go to discussion and possible action on the public safety building. And I sure jumped the gun on that. I'm sorry. You could have stopped me,
No
Miko.
problem, Mayor. I just want to briefly go over, the process and how we got to this point and what the next steps are. Because there obviously has not been any decisions made on this. This was informational gathering, information that we needed to do a study in order to understand what our next steps are as a community and as a council. Obviously, there's a lot to think about this evening, and we as staff are just looking for some direction on where do we want to go next? What are the next steps for us to look at? Now, if you look at the ideal situation, right, if we weren't concerned about our taxpayers, the cost, you're looking at a combined public safety building on Wauwatosa Road, which provides you good access north and south. We are seeing this in other communities that they are combining those buildings. The cost of combining them is a little bit cheaper than building them separate, but obviously that doesn't look at other things that can be done in between. So if we were to look at the combined building, that $54 million amount does not include land acquisition. So there's additional cost in land acquisition that we do not know yet. There's not been any negotiations in regard to the land. So that would be something that the council, if that is an area that we're looking at, would have to let direct staff in, is the negotiation part for property. The other aspect that has been mentioned this evening is, okay, well, what if we abandon the current buildings that we're in by building new somewhere else? What are we going to do with those other buildings? Everybody speculated, well, we could do this, we can do that, but there's no firm decision been made by a council or the city. And that's something that we as staff are looking for direction from the Common Council on. What are the next steps? Where are we headed? What makes sense for our community as we look at financially? The financial cost of a combined building of $54 million, it's over $750 annually to our taxpayers for the next 20 years. So keep that in mind. So it doesn't change. And that does not look at our other capital costs that we have within the city. We have large road projects. We have a $2.5 million Washington Avenue Road project that's happening this year. We have other capital projects that we just can't levy for anymore, that we will be needing to borrow for in the future as well. So that's something that the council needs to keep in mind as we look at this decision. So there are some options that have been laid in front of you. We've gone through the study. Just like with our wastewater treatment plant, we looked at the studies and made a decision. So that's what we're looking for as staff, is looking for direction on where do we want to go next? What are those other options that we want to look at? And how do we move forward? Because we know that something needs to be done with these facilities, whether it's repairing the existing facilities or building new. We need to come up with a plan. And if it is looking at just the deferred maintenance, then we as staff need to know that working with Ehlers on how do we add that deferred maintenance into the next 5-year budget cycle. So with that being said, I'll open up for any questions from the common council or any comments as well as from the residents.
Yeah, why don't I start, if I may, just from the perspective of the finance department. We've had some of these numbers for a while, so we have run through some scenario analysis, and Miko touched on. You know, at the end of the day, the way I think about it, if, you know, the number that we were assuming was a little bit lower than some of these that were thrown out here in the presentation. But, you know, I mean, just very easy, right? If you kind of take the numbers thrown out there, you add on some number for land acquisition costs, we're talking about $18,000 to $19,000 for the average home. And one point just of clarification, we have on here $515,000 is the average home. That's the equalized value. That corresponds to an assessed value of about $409,000. So I think people are more likely to know their assessed value than the equalized value. So I just wanted to put that out there. So, you know, if your assessed value then is 600,000, 700,000, obviously you can kind of do the math there. But, you know, I mean, we're talking, listen, I acknowledge that these buildings are far from perfect. These numbers are crazy, right? It's not like, oh, that's a little bit more than I was anticipating, right? It's like, you got to be kidding me type of numbers. So just, you know, for me, I think what my recommendation or my guidance to staff would be is I think we need to explore not only this deferred maintenance, but maybe have the chiefs kind of come back here. You know, we talked through some of them, but here's my 1 or 2 or maybe 3 priorities, and then itemize those to give us, you know, how much those are either done together or separate. And we kind of look at those. You know, a lot of this, Kristen, gets back to the nice to have versus need to have, right? And, you know, our fiscal situation is such that nice to have is just not something that that's a reality for us anymore. So I think we need to identify the very, very critical elements of the deferred maintenance and the critical needs that have to be critical needs, not, you know, not, oh, this sure would be nice if we had this or this, right? They have to be critical needs, and then we kind of price those out. And then we've got to get this number. In my mind, you know, we're talking about 50 plus. I mean, in my mind, this all in has got to be less than half of that, right? I mean, I'm thinking like 15 maybe. As city obligation, we can talk later about some guidance about what the messaging should be to the town on this, but that's broadly where I am.
Others?
I think I'm 100% with Jim. I don't even need to elaborate. I'm 100% there.
Mark?
I'm in agreement. Jim, it's a very difficult decision. We were at both facilities. There are definitely needs, high priority. Yeah, be really nice. Say, yeah, let's go build a new building over here on Wauwatosa. Okay, but in reality, I don't think that is being fiscally responsible either at this point in time, given all of the other that need to be addressed in the relatively short term. And in order to, even if we were, let's say, be in a position to build a new building, there are pieces, sorry, Terry. There are pieces to the puzzle that I think that are missing. You know, land acquisition cost. You know, what is the, you know, if we have to move these guys out while we're renovating or whatever, what does that cost? I mean, I think there's pieces to the puzzle. We don't have a complete financial picture of what this is gonna cost us in either case, whether we renovate or we, you know, to your point, what are the critical needs at this point in time to keep these guys comfortable and running and safe? But that's kind of my thoughts.
I'm in agreement with what everyone's been saying. I do have one question about the land acquisition. Is that something, and I don't know how this works, would you start looking at that and secure a parcel for future use before it gets used for something else? How does that work?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very good comment. And one of the things that Cedarburg has done a fantastic job over the years is thinking to the future, right? You look at Highway 60 Business Park and you look at Pioneer Road land for future wastewater treatment plant. Those are all done to over 20 years ago, and the city purchased those properties and sat on that for now that we're able to actually get something done. So when we look at properties, it was identified and the group did a great job on looking at various sites throughout our city, and we don't have a lot of land left. And when you look at the Wauwatosa site, it's a quick access north and south for both police as well as for fire EMS, and it's a large parcel. You know, is this something that the city wants to pursue, and is this the time to pursue it? You know, the other option, I know that property has been valuable and developers have looked at it. You know, is it something that then gets developed into homes or subdivisions, just like Prairie View and Top View? So it's definitely something that I think the council should consider whether or not to direct staff on how do we approach the future of that site.
The thought is you could investigate securing the property. Doesn't mean that we have to build a new facility on it right away. I mean, that's something that could be done 10, 15 years down the road. But at least you have the place for it when it comes time that we have to expand. You know, it's just thoughts, different ideas, throwing things against the wall, see what sticks.
That's what I was wondering, how that would, you don't want to lose the option you might need in the future. Yeah, I don't know.
I think if we were going that direction, my preference would be to combine the existing site where it currently is, because then we don't have to worry about what are we going to do with the existing police department. We already have the land. We don't have to buy a multi-million-dollar piece of property. I assume that it would be. So I guess that's just my.
I have no idea how much it would be,
Yeah.
so that's why I was asking, because I just don't.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Just a couple, sorry.
No, I'm
Go ahead.
finished. Yeah, no problem.
Just a couple of thoughts. I had the privilege of going on tours at both facilities, which I just want to reiterate that everybody in the city did. Everybody received the invitation, and the tours were led by the chiefs, and you were able to find out some of these nuances and critical needs if you went on those tours. That's the first thing I want to say. But having said that, I would say that the needs definitely seem more significant at the fire department, but there were needs at the police department as well that were quite obvious. I've had the privilege of being in both facilities, working, and also to attend events as well. So they definitely both have needs. Hearing what everyone is saying, I'm not in disagreement. What is most important from my perspective is that we're supporting the adequate staffing needs of both departments, because I've seen neighboring communities build new facilities and then not support, and then having city administration not support additional staffing needs. And I've heard from existing officers in those jurisdictions, like, just give us back the old building and let us have the officers we need to do the work. And I don't want to ever see us in that position here. I want us to be able to support the fire department and the police department in having adequate staff to do the work they need to do. And if we have to choose, that's what I choose.
I've got a couple comments too, but I'll wait to see. Christian or Bobby, do you have anything you wanted to mention? Christian, I know it's hard. You're sick.
Can I go?
Yeah, go Bob.
Oh, wait, no, I'm in agreement. The big thing is that, you know, what we got going on here. Number one is, you know, that wastewater, I mean, the toilet's got to flush. So, I mean, I'm with we got the wastewater treatment facility coming on board. And then the next biggest, again, this is my opinions. The next big tackle is the fire department. I think it's got the most volume of issues that got to be resolved. And then if you want to put them in numbers, the number three, the police department. And I mean, I remember when that building was built. I remember when they first moved from the old building to the new building, and I had fun joking around with the old and the new building. But it is the newest building of the three big major projects we got to deal with. I like whoever made the comment about if they did do a combined building and be on the land it's already on, since we already have that one police department and the chief wants to stay there, then we don't have to worry about, well, what's going to happen with that building if they did thought about acquiring that new site. Like I said, but that number of $750 that Jim had said for 20 years, it doesn't even include the land acquisition. The numbers are crazy. So, you know, I'm in agreement with Jim and Kristen for sure with where things should go. But with me, I'm looking at that wastewater facility. My opinion is the first priority for the city. Second one's that fire department, because my opinion, it's in the roughest shape of them all. And then the police department is the newest building, and they can get away with, I mean, some kind of renovations. But I think that wastewater and that fire department is going to be our biggest tackle to figure out how to get that thing up to snuff, and to accommodate mainly the fire department, to accommodate the personnel.
Christian, did you want to say anything? Thanks, Bobby. Christian lost his voice too, so I'm not sure if he can speak.
He's on
Yeah.
mute. I don't know if you have to do something, Miko, or.
Did you want to speak, Christian?
I think a lot has already been said that I would have brought up.
Okay. I think one of the holes that we have right now is, if indeed we're talking about any make do or partial, you know, or renovations at the existing fire department, we don't really have a picture of that. We don't know, we don't really, you know, have a plan on how that building could be utilized. We don't know. I mean, can we take some of the space from the museum upstairs and utilize some of that? I mean, what have we got as far as a plan? And when I think of that, I think it's almost a temporary plan. It's a few years versus a long-term plan. And how long would that take? How long would that last us? I have massive concerns about the amount of taxing that we're going to be doing. And I'm totally in agreement with the conversations that we've had already up here. My question is, what will it take for us to figure out what we might be able to do within the fire department to make it, you know, to expand the living areas, so they're actually decent? Because if we're using that building for the next, I'm sorry, Chief, he's probably gonna, I don't know what he's gonna do to me here, but if we're using that building for any period of time, we need to have suitable living areas in there and relaxation areas. I mean, something so people who are staying there 24 hours really actually have a place to be. And And so we have not looked at what that building could look like, or if it can look like, in addition to just the repairs and, you know, items that have to occur there. The environmental and everything else that, you know, is there right now that we need to deal with if we're going to stack more people in there. So that's an unknown. If that's an option, it's an unknown on how we would get to that option. I get it, although I think it's an option that we need to explore. I also, and Miko knows this, and I've said it over and over and over again, I just really would like to see us try to stay on the current police department site for the entire operation. I do know that doesn't provide us with a training facility. I realize, and I've had, you know, good discussions to understand. I mean, the chiefs have been really good about explaining. I realize that a part of what you want to do is just, if you've got, probably not so much on the police officers, but on the, you know, the fire department people, if you're there and you're not on a call, or you're not, you know, working on something at that point in time, the ability to go out and get something done from a training perspective is really helpful. I if nothing else, I see a training opportunity out on Pioneer Road, but that's just Pat talking. I don't know that that really is, and that certainly allow you just to break out and go do something, you know, while you're waiting for the next call. Just, you know, saying that on the side, but I do realize we need to have a training area, but I don't think that we should sacrifice that piece of property for that. I think that that piece of property is sitting there, and it should be utilized as a joint facility. Expanding, I mean, doing what we need to do right now to make certain that the police, I'm talking a lot, but still, that the police department can do what they need to do our renovations, do what we need to do there. I know it's not going to be the full renovations, but follow the chief's lead on this, what our people need. Go back and try to determine what the existing fire department could look like without putting millions and millions of dollars into it, but putting some money into it to see if we can make that a more suitable building for the short term. We don't know what that answer is. And then we have to decide if we want Miko and myself probably to speak with the property owner on Wauwatosa Road and, you know, look at some conversations there for the longer term. And that's another discussion. So.
Maybe two other things, Mayor, if I may. One is.
Clean up what I said, okay?
No, I'm not going to go in a slightly different direction here, but I think it's something that we really need to think about as a group. I mean, this group should be thinking longer term, right? And maybe this is the third rail of local politics here, but, you know, we're 2 or 3 years into this agreement with the town, you know, so we got 7 years left. I'm not an investment banker, but I've had the same schooling as investment bankers, and I can tell you that fire departments, given the move away from volunteer to paid on call, are ripe for consolidation. We're seeing it right in southeastern Wisconsin with large fire departments. So I mean, we got to at least think about, let's say this 7 years from now, and we've got to go through this analysis again, and it becomes abundantly clear that the future is an Ozaki Fire Department, right? And then maybe it does make sense to build a new fire department on Wauwatosa, but it would county and not just the city of Cedarburg. So that's one thing. I mean, we just have to be mindful of the fact that the landscape for fire departments and how they're formed is changing very, very quickly. And 6 or 7 years when our agreement comes up, it could be a different landscape, and I think we just need to think about that. Secondly, if I may, and I touched on this with my opening comments, is I think as part of our recommendation to staff, and I think this is very important, should also include, in my mind, as we contemplate these costs for the fire department, both this deferred maintenance and whatever critical needs that we address, that the town's got to pay their fair share. And in my mind, if the town doesn't pay their fair share to the penny, we don't make these, we don't we don't pay ourselves, right? So listen, I'm all for more cooperation between the city and the town until it results in the city taxpayer being screwed, because at that point I'm out, right? So unless they're paying their fair share here, I will not approve a single penny of city funds to go to the fire department. Maybe we can come up with some mechanism to compel them to pay, and maybe we won't have to come to that. But for me, part of the direction the staff has got to be that the town has got to pay their fair share as we contemplate these sky-high costs.
I'm going to follow up with that right away. In the back of my mind, it's been, is there a mechanism out there to compel them to participate? Because we made an agreement, but things can change. And circumstances can change. And so what is that? I don't know if I can, well, I don't want to say that out loud, I guess. I don't want to take away a potential negotiating opportunity with the town. So I'm going to stop talking on that particular point. And I hope everybody understands that.
Can I just follow
Yeah,
up real quick?
jump-
Because
jump
I'm
in.
going to give them the benefit of the doubt here. We know, we've seen these costs, right?
Mhm.
We've seen these mid-50s number. I'm sure from their perspective, they're like, whoa, slow down here a little bit. I'm hopeful, right, that as they hear that we're exploring these lower cost options, more inclined to cooperate and, offer to contribute their fair share here. So hopefully that's how this plays out. But for me, that's just incredibly, incredibly
I
important.
appreciate that optimism.
Yeah.
Which is unusual with you. Wow. Oh, we know him. I'm gonna go back just real quickly. Shoot to something. What did you start with, Jim? I'm sorry.
Foundation.
Fire department consolidation.
Yeah.
Consolidation. I was lucky enough to be a participant in some of the consolidation talks, not to the extent that, Joy and the chief and, others were by any means, but I was a part of some of them. And I do truly believe that at some point in time, I don't know what that consolidation will look like, but I believe that we will all by necessity roll into that. And we have to keep in mind that whatever it is, we're still going to have we need a very suitable, and I'm talking fire, of course, we need a very suitable fire department facility here in Cedarburg, because that will be a base of a portion of consolidated operations. And so whatever we invest into there over the longer term, it would be great if the county paid for it. But whatever we invest into, I envision that as being, in the end, our not central Ozaki, I don't even know what we call it anymore, north-south facility. And that's all I had on that. Others?
I'm glad, Jim, you brought up consolidation as an
Oh, yeah.
option in the future.
It will be.
Yeah.
There's no question, I don't think.
That, got to keep that in the back of our mind. I
Mhm.
agree.
But we will need a facility here, so.
Right, and then you wonder if you build a joint building, you spend money that you didn't need to spend.
That's a
that
point
road.
too. But it can be on the police department property, on the existing property.
Yeah, maybe that'd be a
Yeah.
reason to stay on
Yeah.
the existing property.
Well,
Okay.
Miko, do you have
Yeah.
what you need
Probably
to
not.
proceed from here, or?
Yeah, in summary, really, we're looking at working with staff to evaluate FD renovations being a high priority, and then PD renovations as well. Coming up with a plan, whether we use a consultant or you do it by ourselves, we'll have to determine that. In the future, if we are going to look at combined site, we would be utilizing the current police department site, and that would require that we look at park relocation as well. And then continue to look at ongoing consolidation efforts with neighboring communities. Summarize that.
And I don't think we should completely walk away from at least examining what the opportunity on that other across the roads.
Yeah,
might
you know, that's
be.
a free option, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you can have a discussion with them and see if.
Because that could be, that could be a property for the future.
But also, don't we got to check and see what DOT is going to say?
Well,
I mean,
you
they
said
might.
you said we were going to be able to work that out.
That was not me.
Oh, it was. I thought you were optimistic on it.
I am, but it's the DOT. So,
Okay.
that's the big one where they might come down and say this might shut the whole thing down. So that's the one thing we should have Nico look into to make sure the DOT knows we're thinking about this and what's their push and shove on this.
You got more time. You want to work with him on it?
Well,
Sorry.
Through this study, FGMA, Cross Anderson, they have worked with DOT, so we have some sort of understanding. At the staff level, we'll continue to working with the DOT on this.
Can I ask a clarifying question of Miko's summary? Miko, when you said work with staff to determine critical needs, does that also address not only the deferred maintenance, but also, Mayor, what you recommend about critical renovations?
What that existing building or the
Okay.
two existing buildings could look like
Okay,
over the shorter
Shorter
term
term.
for a period.
okay.
Right, and we have a good understanding on the police department side, and Chief mentioned those. It's on the fire department side. I think we need to study it a little bit further.
Mhm.
Okay, great.
Well, with that being said, thank you, council members. Thank you, FGMA. Thank you, Kraus Anderson, for all the work you've done to get us to this point. Chief and your teams, greatly appreciate everything you've done so far, and we'll continue working together to come up with a solution that works for our community. Thank you.
Okay, and I'll echo that. I mean, this is a really hard conversation. I know it. There are a lot of strong thoughts out there and a lot of work that has gone into this, and that's appreciated, and it's not taken lightly by any means. We're going to go to 10A, new business discussion and possible action on updated FC3 capital improvement budget policy.
This item is part of our Finance Committee review of all of our policies, and we updated the capital improvement policy. The Finance Committee did review this. If you do have questions, please ask me or Jim here. Otherwise, we are looking for approval for this policy change.
Anybody have a question?
Sorry, I'm.
Yeah, it's the capital improvement budget policy. There's not a lot
Oh,
of huge
yes.
changes here. There's more simplifications as opposed to any kind of broad changes, substantial changes.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the updated FC3 capital improvement budget policy.
We have a motion, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
And no one's opposed? Okay, thank you. Thanks, Miko, and thanks to the Finance Committee. We're going to go to B, which is discussion and possible action on concrete crushing operations within city limits in connection South Washington Avenue reconstruction project. And our city engineer, Mr. Weiser, is already up there.
Good evening, everybody. So yeah, as part of the South Washington Avenue reconstruction project, the existing concrete pavement will be removed and replaced with asphalt, new asphalt pavement. The significant amount of concrete removal makes it likely that a contractor would likely want to crush that concrete down to gravel and use it as a base for the new road. The crushed concrete can be crushed to specifications and is a very good base material and could lead to some construction cost savings. Now, obviously, the closer to the project, the better for the contractors. So I have attached a map that shows a couple locations. One of those locations is at the corner of Cardinal and Pioneer. And then the other one's the wastewater or water recycling center future site. So this concrete crushing, it can be a little loud, create some dust, and lead to a high volume of trucking, obviously. Our code does cover this, and it can be approved at a staff level, but just kind of with all the eyes on this project, I just wanted to get the council's opinion here. So any permit would obviously have to follow our code, and then we have allowed the crushing operations in the past as part of the Fox Run project. So I guess,
And
I did talk
that was
to-
on site, Mike?
Yeah. I talked to a contractor and they have a crushing, a location that they crush on the outskirts of Grafton. And they mentioned that if there was something in Cedarburg, possibly that Cardinal location, that could lead to $2 to $3 per ton savings. So that leads to, we have about 16,000 ton needed for the project. So it can lead to real money. So.
What if it was?
Mike, what was the other location? You said it was at the Pioneer site?
Yeah, the Pioneer, the future wastewater plant site on Pioneer.
Okay. I like the Cardinal location because you got the 4 lanes on Pioneer Road coming in. I'm assuming the trucks are going to be coming in and off Pioneer Road to come back in instead of going way out to the east on Pioneer Road where it goes down the 2 lanes. So it's a lot of turning moving from all those trucks to come in and out of there, if I'm correct, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that Cardinal spot.
I mean, depending how the trucking goes, but yeah. It could also be used as a yard. I mean, obviously this is based on whatever contractor would have to rent that site and come to an agreement with their owner. I have talked to the owner and they're open to it as long as it's a competitive rate. So.
Kristen, would you speak to the dust?
Yeah, I got a lot of complaints when Fox Run was doing their crushing noise and dust complaints, but there aren't a lot of residences, right? It's it's by Kettle Moraine. Is
Yeah,
that where it
crossing
is?
Kettle Moraine.
I was just thinking of
Yeah.
the businesses there.
My one concern about that, sorry, about that site is there's a potential new building going on, like
Right.
right on that site, and I don't know if it would coincide, like the construction there would coincide with
I was thinking the same thing.
that, and that just kind of really becomes disruptive for,
The one in front of the La Rosa
La
building?
Rosa.
Yeah.
The collision center.
yeah. How much, would we save a lot of money by pushing it out to Pioneer versus going to that Cardinal site? Is that tonnage rate that you were talking about?
Yeah, I think there'd be savings, compared
Significant?
to Grafton. Yeah.
Okay,
Compared to Grafton, not
Yeah.
compared to the.
Yeah, they didn't go into what the difference would be here.
okay,
I mean, it goes from it's a mile and a half to the the wastewater site
great.
versus about a quarter mile.
Mhm,
Mhm.
mhm.
So yeah, there'd be savings, but yeah. I know the contractor I'd been talking to said they could use a yard on one side of the building and crush on the other side so they can stock piping and things like that as opposed to doing it on the street,
Mhm.
you know, but either way, there's likely still be piping sitting on the street and things like that, but
Right.
How long does the crushing take, Mike? Estimate.
it can move pretty quick, you know, but we'd be kind of doing it in 2 operations.
Oh,
So we'd
each
be-
side of the street.
Yeah, we remove the east side first and then
Mhm.
they would crush and, you know, maybe they'd do that for 3-4 weeks. Then there might be a lull. And then when we take the west side off, then they'd be doing it again. And then you always have the possibility, we have our street project coming up too. So if the contractor who gets South Washington, I would imagine would sharpen their pencil to take the street project too, just because they already have force in town. So they could get both of them, you know, so
Mhm.
then whoever, if that worked out, I'd imagine they'd want to crush whatever they get from the street project too.
So do you have a preference between the two? What would be?
Yeah, you're gonna take the complaints.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
I mean, they will use water in the crushing operation. I think from Fox Run, I think that was as much all the army of workers on there. And when you were driving equipment around that site, like was going on, that sand turns into powder. And then I think that was as much that as it was crushing. I don't think the crushing was actually most of that. I think it was the army of people on
That
the
makes
site.
sense.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, go ahead.
So I think there's things that can be done. That's to say, I mean, there's always going to be dust complaints. And then,
Just a couple of things, because this is also in my district, so I'd be getting the complaints too, probably.
Send them Mike.
Yeah. I try not to do that, but my first thing is that Cardinal to Pioneer, there's already kind of visibility issues there. Like if you're turning left, I'm at that intersection twice a day because my gym is in that strip mall that's like our strip area that's across the street. And there's just so many things like signs and different things that are already in the way. I would wonder if we could do anything to like caution people if there's going to be trucks in and out. Because there's just a lot of things that happen at that intersection for people pulling in and out.
There could be signage up, you know, trucks entering, leaving type signage.
Yeah, I think
See.
that might, there's just a lot more traffic now, and especially with the newer businesses on Door Lane that like Yoga One that has so many people in and out, and like the Happy Place that we just approved, you know, for Teaching Kitchen. So I would be thinking about them too. And then my other thought was with the crushing, like, do we know noise wise, like, not to get into noise discussions, but are there big concerns for the amount of noise it makes? Because I know that some of those businesses on Door Lane are already having concerns about noise. Not related to city projects, but concerned with noise in their building.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what a decibel level or anything of that a crusher runs.
Okay,
I'm usually amazed. I think they're quieter than you'd think sometimes. I mean, there's a lot of noise, but I don't know that it's much more than a bustling construction site also.
okay.
But, and then we can set hours of operation, you know, it could be 7 to 5 or, you know, and, you know, Monday through Friday or whatever, you know, so we can.
Well, and I'm assuming Carlson Tool makes noise in their facilities there as well too, and there's not complaints from that. So maybe it's not as big of a deal as I'm concerned about.
You know, and like Mike says, there's always going to be complaints. If you go with the further one, you're going to get complaints about the truck traffic.
Right.
Right.
Well, and
It's,
it's like.
yeah, right on the road there.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm inclined to take a crack at that Cardinal site.
Trying to bite the bullet and just,
Yeah, more
Yeah.
industrial around there.
Yeah. Why don't you make a motion?
Sure.
go for it. Thanks, Kristen.
So I'll make a motion to, you know, I don't know if we're just pursuing this, right, or recommending that we go with.
Possible action,
What?
action.
Well, I
think
mean,
it'd
this
have
is
to
just
be a
advice he's looking
recommendation
for, right? It's,
Because it's up to the landowner,
Right.
yeah,
Oh,
It's a
not our
regular,
land to,
all right.
you could indicate the recommendation.
Yeah, all right. So I'll make a motion to recommend that we first pursue the location of Cardinal and Pioneer for the
I'll
rock
second.
operations.
got a motion, a second, all in favor?
Aye.
No one's opposed? Okay, Mike, thank you.
thank you.
Okay, and we'll just leave you up there and we'll talk about 10C, discussion and possible action on the award for the contract for 2026 Cedarburg lead service line replacement program. Thanks for not making Tim Martin come.
Yeah, so the city was awarded $1.1 million in safe drinking water loan program funds through the DNR. Cedarburg Light and Water and R.A. Smith put together the 2026 lead service replacement program, which entails about 154 lead water services from the right-of-way to the house and focuses on Fair Street, Franklin Avenue, Madison Avenue, St. John Avenue, Elm Street, Sheboygan Road, Bridge Road, and Center Street. Total of 5 bids were received. The low bid of $796,800 was submitted by M&E Construction. M&E has worked in Cedarburg before, most recently in 2024, and they were good to deal with. So also along, this bid was well below the loan interest amount awarded to the city, so Light and Water would like authorization to add additional lead service replacements to fully utilize the low interest loan amount. So I guess, are there any questions?
Mike, how far along will we be on the total estimated project? How many will be left after this? Or how many will we have been done? Because I know about how many we had.
They gotta be at least 450 done, if not more.
Yeah, because we were at about 1,000 that needed it.
From what I understand, this pretty much takes care of the private side only ones.
It does. You
Okay.
just talked about this at the
Okay.
Light and Water.
I should have asked you.
This pretty much takes care of, like Mike said, the private ones. So then after that, it's just kind of, it'll be much slower
Mm.
after next year.
It'll follow our street project.
Yeah,
Okay.
And then
Okay.
there's also Washington, which
yeah,
hopefully. not
downtown.
so.
Yeah, yeah.
but
No one wants to really talk about that, right?
The only thing I would add, and I'm sure Bobby could pipe into, is I feel like from the contractor side of it, the communication has been pretty abysmal when it comes to the homeowners. I know he got complaints, I got complaints too. So if there's a way that that can be streamlined through like Light and Water with the residents that are getting their lateral replaced, I don't know, maybe just a form letter that better explains the bid process and whatnot, that would be helpful. I don't know if
And
you wanna-
again, it wasn't, my end wasn't that with R.A. Smith, it was with the contractor after that. And then, all the, I would say the damage it left behind that, you know, the constant complaining that to have the people come back and fix, and there's still all around me, it looks terrible. So a lot of the homeowners are just, they're fixing it themselves, and I feel bad because they shouldn't. I mean, because remember, the people that have this done, I'm one of them. We're actually paying for it, and I would not pay for what was done to my yard and what it looks like. So I had to fix it myself. So I think a lot of the people in my neighborhood were double banged because they had to go out there and fix it themselves because of the quality of what the previous company, which I'm glad is not this one. It's not back. So I hope this time around everything works really smooth.
And I think that was a subcontractor actually for that, wasn't it, Mike?
Yeah, it was
Yep.
a poor subcontractor.
Yeah.
Actually, it's the same subcontractor we had on our street project. A lot of times we don't have much control over who the contractor picks as their sub.
Mhm.
In this case, we do know it's a different one, so.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can't we have a do not use list? I work with some clients and we sub stuff out and we have, you shall not hire ABC. Just a thought.
Yeah.
We get a lot of complaints from those subs.
Were these complaints in 2025, the 2025 replacement cycle, or are these now kind of a year old? Is this 2024?
I had both.
2025.
I've heard in 2024 that it was more like confusion around, like all of a sudden they just got a bill and there wasn't like they thought they were gonna get bids or something like that, and it was confusion within like the contractor themselves that did the work. I think you actually talked to a couple of these people. I sent them your way, but that was a 2024. And then I had the same issues that Bobby did with some people in my district last year with the like leaving the depressions in the yard and.
Yeah, I've usually forwarded on to Tim Martin just because
Yeah.
I don't want to say something wrong.
And
I know enough to be dangerous in it, but he's the one kind of handling the day to day.
And I think
Yeah.
Tim's been really, and Jim will speak to this too, I think he's been really comprehensive from the beginning in regard to the information that he's providing, because he's over the top on information.
Well, I had speaking to Tim a lot. I mean, my firsthand experience was, I don't know if Kirsten's had the same people, but they set it up. You had to call the people and tell them that, hey, these are the dates available. Then they tell you, well, sorry, those dates don't work with our dates. And it wasn't me. It was okay. My wife dealt with them. So they were like, well, those dates don't work for us. So you have to pick a different date. And my wife's like, well, these are dates I have available. You called. Well, we can't, those dates don't work. So I called Tim about it, and Tim said, it's a small company, it's family run. And he said that shouldn't have happened. And I believe he had called back and talked to them, but that was a really small company. And I think they only had one person in the office. I think that was the guy's wife. And then she was overwhelmed with what they were doing. So that's why the communication issue, I think, came from a couple of people in my neighborhood that had to communicate, but the communication was pretty bad. But I think it was because of they might have just been overwhelmed. But Tim was great with following. Tim followed up with me every time I called or I said something to Light and Water about you need to talk to these guys because this is not going good over by me. And he followed up with me every time I said something to him. So Tim was great. It was just that it was already a signed bid contract, and there's nothing we can do about it. The only thing we can do now is move forward and hope that this next company blows them out of the water, and we can hopefully get them again for more projects if the work is good.
I like Melissa's do not use list.
Yeah, I'd have to look into, I don't know what the rules are on that, whether.
Well, as long as you know.
You know the pitfalls
consumer,
right
yeah.
now. Yeah. You know the pitfalls, you know all the stuff, so. We're good.
All right, I'll make a motion to award the contract for the 2026 Cedarburg lead service line program. Oh, crap. To RA
And then the expansion, do we need to say?
To M&E.
M&E construction.
M&E Construction.
Yep.
And you're gonna.
I'll
now-
second.
And not to exceed,
I
I'm
don't
sorry.
think you do that because they might.
Right.
they
That's
might
right,
throw it.
they might
Yeah.
do more, yes,
Right,
yes.
right. We've got a motion, a second, all in favor?
I,
I,
No one's opposed? Okay, thank you. Mike, thank you.
Thank you.
We have a lot on the consent agenda. Most of them are permits for festivals. Does anyone have any questions or comments, or we could just take a motion to approve?
So
So moved. Okay.
second.
We got a motion, a second, all in favor?
I,
No one's opposed. Okay, the consent agenda is approved. Thank you. Miko, did you have any?
Yeah, before we talk about AMCAS, I did want to mention that FD study was on our news report on our website. It is still there. So you can get it on there. If you can't get it, please come see me. It is a file that cannot be emailed. It's so large. That's why it was on a OneDrive. But if you can't access it, get a hold of me and we'll figure out a way that public can get the report. Either we print it out for you or we put it on a USB drive for you. That being said, moving on to AMCAS, and Attorney Herbrand put something together that is in front of you as well. But just wanted to give a brief update on the couple court cases that our attorneys have been working on. The first is the raise order nuisance petition, which was filed on November 11th, 2024. There was a court hearing on that in August of 2025. And that settlement agreement required that the owner of AMCAS property perform two tasks. One was to use boards, fences, metal gates, and other barriers to secure all ground floor openings of the structures on the property no later than September 30th of 2025. The second was to remove the wood framed roof structure and masonry walls from the portion of the property known as the quality room, men's locker room, leaving behind concrete floor structure and supporting steel beams and column no later than November 20th of 2025. The first task was performed in a timely manner. The second task, the landowner has not performed. And on December 17th, the city moved to reopen the case due to the non-compliance. That motion was heard on January 12th of 2026, at which time the court found that the owner had not complied with the settlement agreement. And the court ordered the landowner to comply by tearing down the masonry walls from the quality room, men's locker room by no later than 5 p.m. on February 9th of 2026. So now we wait for them to comply with that order. And those pictures are attached as well. If you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on this and we can get that information to you. The second one is the order to seize, use, and vacate property. So again, on August 2024, the building inspector issued an order to seize, use, and vacate the structures on the North AMCAS parcel. The landowner appealed that order to the City Board of Zoning Appeals, and the appeal was on September 25th, 24. The Board of Zoning Appeals voted unanimously to deny the appeal. So then Oliver Frontar filed an appeal of that decision with Ozaukee County Circuit Court on October 25th of 2024. The Circuit Court granted the city's motion to dismiss that case, finding that Oliver Frontar had incorrectly named the city as a party and not the Board of Zoning Appeals. The landowner again appealed that decision to Wisconsin Court of Appeals. And then on this decision made on January 14th, 2026, Court of Appeals upheld the determination of the Ozaukee County Circuit Court, finding that its decision was correct to grant the city's motion and dismiss the case. So I want to thank Attorney Herbrand, Attorney Woodward, as well as our engineering consultant on this, that he's worked, and he appeared in front of the court several times on the city's behalf. So we greatly appreciate everything they've done on this as well. So that's my report.
Can you tell us what's next? I mean, there's the 2/9 date and then what else?
Yeah, so the next one is the February 9th, 26 date is what
Okay.
that we're waiting for them to become compliant in tearing down those masonry walls.
Okay,
And after that, then we will determine next steps.
okay, thank you.
Any questions or comments for Miko or Mike? Okay, thank you. Comments and suggestions from council members? Nobody? And nothing from the mayor. So, Mark,
So. It's a fair, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
got a motion, a second to adjourn, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, but his microphone wasn't on.
Oh, sorry.